Hey guys, what's going on? This is Kyle and Adam from ProjectionHub, and we are back with another video here. And I've put together an interesting one for Adam today. And essentially what we're going to do is have Adam rank the different components of the SBA application process, specifically for a startup. And what I mean by ranking it is we're going to force Adam to kind of create a hierarchy of what is most important, I think, to like the approval of a startup application. So as a disclaimer, all of these components are going to be important. So, if there's one, if Adam ranks one as a D and you're like, oh, thank goodness, like I have terrible credit and he ranks that in D, it's like, that's still an important part of the mix here. So yeah, we're going to go through these, and Adam, you can rank them high to low and give us maybe a quick breakdown of each one as you see fit, to give a little context to each one. So you let me know which one you want to start with and we'll go from there.
Okay, so this is all for a startup, right? So
Yep.
I guess we'll just start with financial projection over there on the left. I'm gonna put that in a C. So this, is always kind of, I know it's always kind of hard to do that when it's like our company is kind of founded on financial projections, but for a startup, you're going to be able to make your projections work, right? Because there's no historical data yet. So like you can kind of make it say whatever you need it to say. So I think that's the reality is like it's made up. It's a projection, right? It's a forecast. Hopefully it's based on some reasonable assumptions, but the lender's probably not going to make or break the loan based on that.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and we'll just keep going down the line. So let's put business plan. Oh, I don't know. I guess I'm probably going to put business plan in the same spot. Put it at a C. It's kind of the same story, I think, on the business plan. You can make your case for, why this is going to work and make it up, right? But it's a requirement for any SBA loan for a startup or an acquisition to have a business plan and a financial projection. So, you can certainly do it wrong. Like you could make it so that it kills your chances, but it's
Sure. So would you say it's fair to say those things probably aren't going to make the approval, but they can certainly break it?
Yeah.
Because they're really just a relaying of the facts that are like on the field, right? It's like you can't, you're not going to change the lender's mind because of your business plan probably, but if you don't give it some effort or, make it good for their purpose, or you don't put one together all, at all, then you're not going to get through that application process.
Yeah. Yep, that's right. Okay, relevant industry experience. I'm going to let's put that at A. So this is pretty important. And I think, really the business plan is going to talk about your relevant industry experience. And so it's important in the business plan to like make your case about why your experience is relevant. But that's probably the thing I see most often that's like killing startup deals is client just has no clear industry experience. And so then you've got to try to mitigate that somehow. Lenders really don't like. I think the SBA kind of cracked down on that as well. So it's like kind of they really have to make their case for why they've got relevant experience.
And inversely, I feel like, let's say someone comes in and maybe they're borderline like credit score, maybe some of the other traditional metrics are a little bit tighter, but the person has really strong experience and like, maybe they're leaving one from managing and they're starting their own. It's like, I think you see a lot of lenders like want to try to find a way to make that loan happen. Like they're more inclined to try because it's harder to create 20 years of experience than it is to like rebuild your credit over 18 months or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Owner equity injection, personal financial statement. Let's put that at S. I put this at the top because for a startup, there is no history of the business yet, right? And so what do they have to go on? It's from a financial perspective, it's, how strong is your personal financial situation? So we had a client who, for all intents and purposes, was looking at a pretty risky startup and had good relevant experience, but it was a good credit score, outside income. But the lender was like, yeah, we're only going to do that type of loan if they're like quite wealthy. So it's like, if you almost don't need the money, if you're so rich you don't need the money, then it works. Like, you can probably get it. So that's where I see that come into play, is like, if you've got a situation where, okay, I've got relevant industry experience and a reasonable plan, and I'm going to put 50% equity as a down payment, like, you're almost always going to be able to find a lender willing to fund the other portion. Okay, personal credit. Hey, real quick interruption, just to remind you that I offer a free SBA review. As a longtime SBA lender and financial projection expert, I've seen thousands and thousands of loan applications. So I'll give you honest feedback and advice on your odds of getting approved for an SBA loan before you even apply, and try to point you in the right direction based on your specific deal. We'll put a link in the description of the video below to that free SBA review form, so you can fill that out. All right, back to the video. Let's put that at A. Yeah, I mean, again, they don't have a whole lot of history to go on the business, so your credit worthiness is going to be important. I think the larger the loan gets, the less important personal credit kind of becomes, which is maybe a little strange. But you could, if you've got a startup veterinary clinic and it's going to cost you $4 million to like build,
Right.
it doesn't really matter if you have an 800 credit score, because like, if the business doesn't work, you're
Right.
not gonna be able to pay it off. So
Yeah, that's not the primary decision. That's another, personal credit is another one of those things where they're not going to give you the loan because you have an 800 credit score, but they will certainly not give you the loan if you have a 500 credit score.
Yeah. And if you need a small enough loan and you've got a really good credit score and some outside income where it's like, hey, you could pay this off personally if you needed to, that might be an angle as well.
And the credit score is going to be one of those things that's like probably more of like a screening factor, right? It's not like further into the underwriting process, they're not going to keep probably picking at that. It's probably just going to be more of that like pass fail early on to kind of weed out applications.
Yep. Use of proceeds, let's put it at B. I don't exactly know what we mean by use of proceeds, but the way I'm kind of interpreting that, if the use of proceeds is for like hard costs like equipment, purchasing real estate, build out, that is easy. It makes it easier, I think. If it's like really heavy working capital, where it's like, hey, we expect in this business for it to take us a long time to like get to profitability, and we need to borrow $800,000 to fund losses for the first 18 months. That's right. A scary spot to be. So use of proceeds.
Or to like pay yourself.
Yeah, it's important. But okay, SBA approved franchise. So this one, let's put at a B. So this is kind of has some nuance. I mean, for startups, SBA lenders really do love well-established franchises. I think what's kind of interesting here is that a lot of people want to get into like new emerging franchises or like newer franchises. And I'm like, I've kind of been wondering, like, why is that? Why do people seem to gravitate towards newer franchises? And I think the reason is because the market is still available. The market you want is still available. So it's like, yeah, I want the Chicago market. And if it's a franchise that's been successful and around for a long time, it's already going to be taken. All the best markets will be taken. So I think that's why people gravitate towards that. But the emerging or newer franchises are really hard to get approved.
Sure. SBA would probably prefer an independent business over a franchise that has 7 locations.
Yep. It's almost impossible. Yeah. I talked to a guy today that was looking at a franchise deal that they had sold 120 locations, but only like 40 of them had opened, and all within the last 9 months. So like they've been selling like crazy, but nobody had more than 9 months of actual experience. So it was all too soon, too early to tell whether it worked. So, okay. Outside household income. Let's put that kind of feels like an A. That can really help, especially in a startup. You're not going to have profit yet right off the bat to be able to pay yourself. So if you've got a spouse or some source of other income that kind of like covers your personal expenses, that can make a big difference. Then you don't have to rely on the business to pay you. Hard collateral, let's put that down at let's call it a B. Collateral's not required. You don't have to have collateral. but I will say it probably does make life easier if you've got like, you're going to pledge your house, you've got 400,000 of equity in the house, and you're asking for 350,000 SBA loan. Like that's going to help.
Sure. And by collateral isn't required, what you mean by that is full collateralization isn't required. But if collateral exists, for the most part, it's going to be required. So like if you're asking for a $500,000 loan and it's all working capital and you have equity in your home, the lender is going to require it be used as collateral. Like that's not an optional use case for collateral.
It's just that if you were renting an apartment and, you know, didn't own a home, didn't have equity in the home, you could still get approved.
Right.
Right.
So the lenders are required to collateralize as much as is possible with what's available.
Yep.
All right. The lease.
I'm going to put that as a D. I mean, yeah, obviously you could have a very unreasonable lease, I suppose, and it could become important. But I think for the most part, I don't see the lease as a thing that's like blowing up a deal. The landlord will have to be willing to sign a document that basically says that the collateral inside of the space is the SBA's, like they have the first right to that, which some landlords don't want to do. But other than that,
and they need the like lease term needs to be able to match the length of the loan. Or isn't that part of it, or the option to extend it to match the length of the loan?
Yep. They, you know, so it depends on how important the specific location is to the business. So if it's a restaurant where the location is going to matter a lot and you don't want to have a 10-year loan and then have your lease run out after 5 years and then you know, forced to move, like that becomes really risky. So SBA would require it to match. But if you're in a business where it's like you just need some warehouse space and it could be any warehouse space and you don't have customers coming to you, then they may not even require you to have a lease that matches the term of the loan. Okay, traction and proof of demand. I think I'll put that at a B. I'll have a nice little kind of
bell curve there.
Nice little bell curve. You know, I think it's really nice if you can show some traction or proof of demand. I was talking to a client this week who was looking to start up a Pilates studio, and she had already pre-sold 75 people on a $3,000 annual amount. And I think she'd already collected all of that cash, which is really incredible. I think she had been doing some like pop-up stuff and like mobile stuff. So, but it's like, wow, that really shows she knows how to sell. There's demand in the market, like really strong. So
I can remember when we were lenders, anytime there was an applicant who was like, oh, I have a side hustle and I'm trying to make it full time, or I have this list of people who have already, like you said, signed up or are interested, like that always like increased the interest in wanting to work on that one. Like it gives you some proof of there's going to be income whenever they launch. It also just like says something, I think, about because you see a lot of applications that are the opposite, where it's like people are making a whole lot of assumptions that people are just going to show up, you know, at a very optimistic amount, and you are skeptical. So to see that there's some like actual demonstrated proof there, I think is, I would almost put the traction and the proof of demand, like almost like one, like you said, one tier below the relevant industry experience. It just kind of gives them a lot of credibility in the fact that like they're already kind of doing it part way. They just need some push to get to the next stage. So I always really like traction and proof of demand in an application.
And I would say if I were trying to choose what kind of business to start, I think it's good to find businesses where it's even possible to like prove that. So like a restaurant is tough because there's plenty of empty restaurants that don't have customers. It's not like every restaurant seat is taken. So, but there are some types of businesses like a daycare where it's like, yeah, all the daycares in the area are like have a wait list, or assisted living facility. They've all got a long wait list in our area. Like that's a good sign that there's demand and, you know, that needs to be filled. So yeah.
Medical clinics, anything like that. Cool. Well, there you have it. I like doing these videos because again, all of these components like, I think that's a part of something, there are a few deal breakers when it comes to an SBA application process. But as you mentioned, like as the scenario changes or the loan amount changes, different components like the weight starts to change. And so I think maybe it's like a promising thing. Like if you're out there and you're thinking about starting a business and you're going to need SBA financing, like there are like play to your strengths. Like maybe you're not a crazy, wealthy person, but you've got solid credit and a ton of experience and you've got some traction. Like that's a really good indicator for that you might be a good candidate for an SBA loan. You don't have to have all of these things exactly how they're stacked up, because all of them go into the application process. So yeah, if you're out there and you're kind of curious like what your approval odds might look like based upon a lot of the things we're talking about here, feel free to fill out our free SBA review. That just gives us a high level kind of breakdown of what you're looking to do, and you can get some customized feedback directly from us about what we think your chances are of getting approved, and maybe some tips about how to go about that. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks.